A pedalboard is such an intricate part of any guitar player's rig, and today we're going to go over mine. Hello all, my name is Michael, and welcome to Amp and Anthems. This is going to be like my first ever long format video for this channel, and I'm excited for the journey, and hope you guys stick around with me on this. But today I thought, what better way to go over things and get to know me a little bit than to go over what sits in front of me at every gig and what I work with. So a little bit of background behind me. I am a gigging musician in the St. Louis area. I have my own personal band, Case 44. We play all over the St. Louis area, and I also work with other studio musicians and other bands. I'm doing like over 100 shows a year, over almost 150. So when I set the idea to build me a pedalboard that would work both with the studio, live, and get me anywhere while also working with needing to go direct when I needed to, working with my tube amps, I got a rented backline, anything like that. I wanted a board that could do it all. And I think this board does a really well-rounded job at doing that for me. It's almost like my identity, and that, just like any other pedalboard for any player out there, this is like their identity. So I thought, what better way to do things than to just sit down, play the board, and talk about it a little bit. Before you guys go any further, please be sure to leave a like, drop a comment. Be sure, if you guys like what I do, subscribe. I mean, we're going to be trying to do more things like that. I'll take video suggestions all the time, and let's get into it. So before we can do anything, we need to set the baseline. So we're going to be using this guitar. This is my 1979 Fender Strat with K-line guitars, gray bottom 69 pickups. So for amps today, we're going to be using the Quad Cortex, and we're going to be using two different amps. We're going to use the double overdrive special in a clean setting from Neural DSP alongside an IR of a EV12M in a 4x12. And then for the other amp, we're going to be using a Tweed Twin that I had captured with a stock 4x12 greenback, and this is what those pairings sound like together. So the pedalboard itself is a Friedman 1529 with the patch bay unit from Friedman, and then everything is getting powered by the Chox DC7, the 8 expansion, and the Crux, which is powering the Quad Cortex on my board. So input goes from the guitar right into the patch bay, and then we hit the Crybaby Junior. It's just your standard wah. I don't really think much about it. I probably could live without it because I don't use wah that much, but then I feel a little naked without it, so I have to have something in that place of it. So this is what the wah sounds like. It's your standard wah. After the wah, we go right into the TheGigRig QuarterMaster. This is the QXM8. It is such an important piece to my rig and my signal flow that I don't know how I went so long without it. Highly recommend it to any player that is very serious about their sound. Get you one of these things, or get a pedal switcher in general. Even if you've got like only 6 pedals in line, it makes a big difference to get everything out of the signal path as much as possible. So first thing it goes into, the first loop is the fuzz loop, and that is going into the Sun face, BC183 silicon transistor, and the Argonaut. The Argonaut is there to give me some Octavia tones, so I'll give you a little bit of sound with that fuzz. Now here's with the Octavia. Allows me to have just one fuzz, one sound with it, and then be able to turn it into an octave fuzz when I need to, plus make it all just under one foot switch, which is ace for if you've ever tried to use the Argonaut and the fuzz at the same time. Makes it so much easier. Pre-drive, that goes up actually into the Quad Cortex. So if you see on the top line, I have a couple different effects set up in there, and those are pre-drive effects. So I've got a compressor, two different octave things happening. I've got an octave that I can easily get to, and then in a preset I actually have also a harmony that we're doing for one song with a band. And then we also got flanger as well as a phase 45. So the phase 45 is on right now, and as you can hear, can't hear the phase. Once you turn on the pre-drive, you can hear the phase just clear as day. Makes it really useful, especially if I need some pre-modulation effects or some pre-drives, or want to run some different drive pedals in the line. I can do it all with the Quad Cortex. Afterwards, we go into the louder loop, which is just the JHS Solo Boost. It's set to the op amp, and I usually use that with a clean sound to give it just a little bit of weight. So here's the clean sound again. Gives it just a little bit of weight to the sound. I will use it with some drives and stack and just kind of push the input a little bit, but most of the time it's there to help kind of lift that clean sound. Next we go into loop 4, which is the TS-808 Keeley modded. It is one of my favorite tube screamers that is out there. It is just musical. It has a little bit more bottom end than most tube screamers do. It's got a little bit more output. It's such a good thing, and especially, you know, if you got a Strat, you got to do the Stevie Ray Vaughan kind of full at 10 with a tube screamer kind of sound. Next we get into the OCD, and this was a little bit of a left field thing for me. So I generally run 2 tube amps on stage with me, and I run a Marshall. But I like that Marshall very, very clean, but I still wanted to get that Marshall drive. So I was recommended by a good friend here in the St. Louis area to try out an OCD, an early OCD. He's got a 1.1 on his board, and I was able to find this 1.2, and it's just killer. It's what does a lot of my Marshall tone, especially driven up. Add that solo boost to it, it just really puts it into a whole new territory. Put on the fuzz as well. Next we go into the King of Tone, and the King of Tone I don't have yet, but this is probably one of the closest things that I've tried to the King of Tone while I wait for mine to get here. I'm probably still like a year out, but this is the StewMac 2 Tone Kings Boost. So You can get this actually as a kit to build yourself, or they can get them pre-built. I just found this one on Reverb and went to town with it. So the yellow side, or what would be the yellow side, I actually use always on with every drive. It's usually always on. Does really good at that. But the red side, I generally like to run with the neck pickup to give me that martially sound on especially the Les Paul, because it's got a little bit more top end and it just has a little more presence there, whereas the OCD just has a little bit more bottom end and works really well with the bridge pickup. So with the Strat running that, it sounds something like this. Next is the Venus from Crazy Tube Circuits. This is kind of like my secret weapon pedal. It's a tube driver, but in a little bit smaller compact, uses regular pedal power, as well as it has some features from all kinds of different tube drivers that came out. So it's got the bias control from the modern day ones. It has a mid control, which was generally found on the old Overlords that the TubeWorks brand did with them. You also have the line driver from the rack units. And one of my favorite things on it is actually the tight switch, which takes out just a little bit of low mids. So that way it's a little less woofy. So it works really well with the Strat as well as the Les Paul. And the way I have mine dialed in, I can run it with a clean pedal sound or clean amp sound. Let's give it a little sound. Last thing in line is an EP Booster, and that's generally always on. It sits under the board, but it's kind of the same way of like if you've seen Chris Buck on how he runs it. It's towards the end of his section. Well, he's got it at the end of his pedal board, but this is at the end of the drive section. And it gives it just a little bit of top end response back, a little bit of a lift, and just kind of gives it the sound a hug, basically. After that, we go right back actually into the Quad Cortex, and that's when we go into that bottom line. So all these things on the bottom row is what is going after the drive section. So I've got a freeze, which I'll use for some intro pads that I do with one band. Then we also got a flanger that sets wet dry, works really cool for some old David Gilmour kind of tones. And then I also have just a regular chorus and a Dimension D chorus that I'm using for a couple other songs as well. After the modulation effects, we're actually going into a utility pedal on both sides, and it's actually this expression pedal I have set up on the side, and it's just doing... It's doing volume. Okay, we're out the effects loops now. We're going right into the timeline, and the timeline does some different delay sounds for me. So I've got just a plain old analog delay set up. I've got two different slapbacks set up. The slapback's a little bit like a thickener almost. Here, very, very slightly. And then I also use the halo effect that I built on it a lot, which is like the Andy Timmons halo pedal. This is kind of that dual delay sound that he does. I do want to check out the Timeline MX, so if Strymon, you see this video and you want to hook a guy up. I also needed a certain sound that I just could not get out of the Timeline, and that's where the Galaxy comes in. This is doing my drum, old tape echoey kind of sound. So like I do a lot of David Gilmour stuff, and he's a big inspiration to my sound, and that's what I'm using this one for a lot of. Use that just to build a big space around my sound. Afterwards, we're going into two different pedals. One side goes out to the Strymon Lex, and then that ends effects loop 1. That goes into the top row and hits the dumble, and the Lex is my rotary. And it sounds a little something like this. Sounds good. There's some phasing issues. I would love to find me an analog rotary pedal. I know there's possibly some coming out here soon, but we don't really know info on that. I really don't have the money or space to be able to put a rotosphere on my board. So if anyone's got some good recommendations on what to do for that analog rotary pedal, please shoot them in the comments. I'd love to hear your guys' suggestions. Maybe check some stuff out. So we talked about that ending effects loop 1. Effects loop 2 ends with the Strymon Flint. So on the other side of the Galaxy, it goes to the Flint, and that does my plate reverb as well as harmonic tremolo. So plate just adds a little bit of space to the sound. Bit of harmonic tremolo, and you can do some really nice position 4 sounds with it. And that ends effects loop 2, but they also split from the Flint and the Lex. From both of those, the Lex actually goes back into the patch bay, and the Flint goes into a JHS humdinger to be able to do the phase slipping and ground lifting, as well as giving me an option to do dual mono out with that, allowing me up to like 3 amps on stage at the same time, while the effects loop goes right back in and hits the amps that I have modeled on here, and that's what we're hearing today, with just a little bit of rim reverb at the end, just because it sounds very dead and fake without it. Gives it just a little bit of room sound. That's it. The only other thing that I have set up on this that I can't really show today because I don't have the proper setup to do, and it's only for just in case moments, input or output 4 on the Quad Cortex also goes out to the patch bay, and that allows me to do A, mono, or B, if I go to a rented backline and has effects loop on the amp and I need to get certain sounds out of this, I can send out to that and just send a preamp out to whatever I'm using. And that's the board. I mean, that's the setup. I mean, it's a lot. It sounds like a lot, but it's so fun. It's so big. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna run through a couple play demos for you guys, and then we'll talk about it a little bit. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Yeah, this is my gig rig, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Maybe gave you guys some inspiration for your pedalboard rig. If you got a question or comment, drop it in the comments below. Please sure to subscribe. Check out also my TikTok, my Instagram, even check out my band page. I would love to see you guys at a live show sometime. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys had a wonderful time, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thank you.